Hey guys, Josie in Chicago. It is Saturday morning, July 28th, and I am currently sitting in my garage because we are having a garage sale today. One thing we do every so often is that when we have too much stuff in the office downstairs that just isn't selling on eBay, and eBay is a little slow right now, we go ahead and we have garage sales and we lower the amount. At first we put it at the same amount we would get if we were selling on eBay after fees, and then the following week if we do another one and stuff doesn't sell, then we might just go a little lower. Well, last weekend we did very well in our garage sale. We made close to $100, so we're out here again doing another garage sale. Just trying to clean up a little bit of the office, trying to make some more space for more stuff we have coming in, and we're just trying to plan ahead before Q4 comes and we start loading up on toys and everything else. So if you feel that your stuff is not selling fast enough on eBay or Mercari or Amazon or Poshmark, wherever you may be selling, try to do a garage sale, something of that nature, just so you can get rid of stuff that is taking up too much space, perhaps in your basement or in your bedroom, wherever you might have your items, and just get some instant cash in your pocket so you can get better stuff that you can sell on eBay, or save up the money so you can get something really good down the line for Q4, which we're going to be starting in very soon. But in the meantime, I came across this article that says 20 older toys with insane value. So I figure I'll share that with you guys, let you guys see what people are actually paying for vintage toys from the even as far back as the 30s. But you'd be surprised, there are some items on here from even the 80s and 90s that are still going for very good money if you have these things still in the original packaging. So we'll go over these 20 different items. Keep in mind that only because, let's say like these Garbage Pail Kid cards, they might be worth, $200-300, somebody paid for it. That's what they wanted to pay at that time. None of these prices are going to be set in stone. Only because one person wants to pay $200 for something doesn't mean someone else will want to pay for it. So when you take a look at this list of 20 toys, just keep them in mind, make a little list, so when you're going out in your garage sales or whatnot, if you see them, then you can do a quick search, see what the update price might be. A lot of times it doesn't change too often. So if you see something like this and it's on your list and it's going for super cheap, then go ahead and pick it up. You might have just found a gem. So the very first thing is these Garbage Pail Kid cards, and if you're in your 40s or older like myself, then you remember these cards. They used to come with a piece of gum. It's funny because in the Facebook group we were just talking about these cards 2 days ago and saying, oh, you remember it came with a piece of gum inside. It was like a bubblicious gum. But apparently it says these cards, they weren't so popular with the parents, but the kids like myself, we loved them. And these cards, if you can find these 1985 Garbage Pail Kids for still in the original packaging and so forth, it says one card right here, one card recently sold for $300, and the entire series is going on eBay for $4,000 at this time. So if you find a Garbage Pail Kid that was kind of famous, it was popular back in the 80s, they could be worth $300. So if you see a Garbage Pail Kid card, pick it up. You never know what you might have. Let's go on to the next one. Alright, you don't have to be a kid from the 80s to know that Pokemon cards are popular. Pokemon cards came out in the 90s and they're still popular today. So if you have a popular Pokemon card, or you see them, I see them a lot in lots at the garage sales and the Goodwill. But I never picked them up because I don't know anything about Pokemon cards. This is one thing I never got into, but if I find them super cheap, I might be picking them up because, as it says here, some Pokemon cards are even worth thousands if they're rare and if they're kept in good condition. So if you see a Pokemon card around, pick it up, do a quick scan on their name and see what they're worth. Could be worth some good money. All right, number 3 on the list is the 1978 Skywalker action figure. Anyone who's been around since the early 70s knows that anything Star Wars that's vintage is worth a good amount of money. It says here that the Luke Skywalker action figure released in 1978 was sold for $25,000. Is that insane or what? So if you find anything to do with the original Star Wars from the 70s and it's in the package, it looks good, pick it up, scan it, because you never know, you might have a gem. Who would have known that this doll that was probably worth $5 back in the day sold for $25,000 to a very serious collector? Alright, Pez dispensers have been around for ages. But there are some that are very popular that people do want. So the popularity for these dispensers have never really gone away. And it says here a 1982 Pez dispenser known as Astronaut B just sold on eBay for $32,000. And mind you, that is not the collection. That is just that one Pez dispenser from 1982. And I believe the Pez dispensers, if you pick them up and you look on the bottom of them, that's where the year is stamped. So if you see anything from the 80s, definitely pick it up. And if it's super cheap, which it probably would be, in good condition, the better condition, of course, the more money you're going to get. It might be worth some money, so give it a chance and see what it's worth. Number 5 on the list is the original 1933 Monopoly game that sold for $146,000 in 2011. Now, if you find any original pieces from the 1930s original Monopoly game, it's going to be worth a lot of money, whether it's just the board alone or just the pieces alone. If you have anything to do with that, you might want to hold on to it and put it up for auction, because the original pieces from the 1930s can bring you a couple $1,000s. So keep an eye out for that. Next on the list of goodies is the original Game Boy. Game Boy came out, I believe it was in the 80s, and might have been a little later. But this little thing right here actually does sell for a good amount of money, especially if it's in working condition. If you find the Game Boy Light, which will be, I'll say Game Boy LTE right here. If you find that one at a garage sale or at a Goodwill, and it's in working condition, one sold for over $1,500. So not a bad turnover, definitely, if you find a Game Boy. So keep a lookout for those. If you find the cartridges as well, the games that came along with this, you can even make more money. So mint condition, still working, you can get close to $1,500 for a Game Boy. Who would have known? Alright, Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels have been around since the 60s. Who would have ever known that since 1968, 4 billion Hot Wheels have been made? That is insane. But of course, only a handful of them are valuable. There's this prototype here. This is the 1969 Volkswagen Beach Bomb prototype. Then I have a very big production. So this was a one-of-a-kind, and it's got a high value of $125,000. This definitely is something you want to take a screenshot of. If you see this car anywhere, definitely pick it up, because it is rare and it is worth a lot of money to collectors. Alright, in the 1980s, these little cute pound puppy plushes came out. I wasn't really into them, but apparently they are worth a good amount of money. So if you find a first edition pound puppy, you can make a pretty good penny. It's going for $5,000. Again, another item that you want to search for if you're in the Goodwill or going to garage sales or yard sales is a first edition pound puppy plush. Definitely worth a good amount of money. Alright, going back to the Cabbage Patch dolls. Earlier you saw that the little trading cards that came with the gum are worth some money. But if you actually have a Cabbage Patch styles in good condition, you should see what they're worth. There is a family out in Maryland that has over $5,000. They even built a museum that's worth $360,000 at this time because they have so many of the dolls. And so if you find the Cabbage Patch, this little red one right here, she was super popular back in the day. There's another version of her here. Of course, they kind of all look the same, but they have different backgrounds and hair colors and stuff. But the face was almost the same, as you can see. But these dolls were super popular back in the 80s especially. So if you have a Cabbage Patch doll, look up the value. You might be holding on to a very nice gem. Alright, the old Sega Genesis console. If you see a Sega Genesis, and this is the original one, the 16-bit, this is what it looks like if you want to take a quick picture of it. If you find one of these and it is in working condition, it could be worth up to $2,000. Something that you can probably pick up at a garage sale for like 20 bucks. Alright, Mike from Global Voodoo, that I recommend you guys go and check out. He is always talking about Fisher Price, and he is correct. This is the 1936 Fisher Price push cart. His name is Pete. And if you find Pete like this, the original Pete from 1936 in good condition like this one, you can make an easy $3,000 according to the article. You can probably even make more depending on if you put it to auction and you have some bidders that start bidding on it. You'd be surprised how these vintage toys can really get up there really fast. So keep an eye out for Pushcart Pete. He might be able to bring you a couple $1,000s. Alright, I used to love He-Man back in the day. They used to have a cartoon with He-Man. I used to come home running from school just so I can watch it. But this is the 1982 Skeletor action figure. If you can find him in the original box in still good condition, you can go, they're selling on eBay for close to $2,000. So anything from the 80s, vintage toys from the 80s seems to be the trend here. Always look them up because they can be worth some pretty good money. Even if it's not in the box, you might not get $2,000 for him. But if he's in mint condition, you can probably still get a very nice turnaround on your money. So keep an eye out for 1980s He-Man toys. Alright, Light Bright. I used to love playing with this when I was a kid. Light Bright was, it came with these little stubs right here, and then you can make any kind of figure that you wanted. You would put them into this blackboard here, and they kind of like punch in, and you could make any design you want, and you would plug it in and it would light up. So it will light up your design. So that was kind of cool. Cost $20 back in the day, and they are selling for about $100 or more. So if you see an original Light Bright still in the box, and if it works, you can have about $100 on your hands. So definitely keep an eye out for Light Bright. Alright, Happy Meal toys. Who would have known that they were worth something? Well, they're worth something to collectors. So if you have something that one of these that are still in the original packaging, they can't be opened, they have to be sealed. There are certain ones that are worth good money to collectors, and they can be worth a couple $100. Apparently the 2002 Disney theme characters sold on eBay for $300. So that series, which probably costs what a Happy Meal costs a couple dollars, it probably costs $5 for the set altogether, sold for $300 on eBay. Not a bad turnaround. So if you see these anywhere, pick them up, check out the dates, and check them out on eBay and or Etsy or Amazon. See what they're worth. You might have a couple $100 in your hands. Alright, another boatload of Furby. We were talking about Furby also in the Facebook group. It's funny, this one is also on the list. An original Furby who is still in the box and is unopened. If you're lucky enough to find one, it can be worth up to $900. So a Furby, this came out in the early 90s. It was incredibly popular. Everybody had a Furby. They were all over the place. And again, if you can find a brand new one unopened in the box, it could be worth up to $900. So keep an eye out for these. You can probably find these at a garage sale, or definitely a Goodwill will probably have them. Might be open though, but if you're lucky enough to find an unopened one, pick it up. All right, this is a Talk Boy. A Talk Boy is just a version of a tape recorder. Came out in the movie Home Alone 2. After that, it became even more popular. If you could find a Talk Boy still in working condition, this could be worth a little over $200 on eBay as vintage. So check it out. All right, Beanie Babies have been huge for what seems like ages and ages, starting in the early 90s. There are some original first edition Beanie Babies that are worth a couple $1,000s, and one of them is the 1997 Princess Diana Beanie Bear, which is the purple Beanie Bear that was a tribute to Princess Diana after she passed away. If you could find the first edition one, then it can be worth up to $12,000. And there are ways by looking at the tag to know what condition and what year that one came out. It's not year, but what series, whether it's the first, second, third, or fourth edition. So just by looking at the tag alone, because there are plenty of third edition Princess Diana Beanie Bears out there, especially at the Goodwill. I find them all the time. But you need the first edition, so keep in mind it has to be the first edition Beanie Bear. Again, you can Google how to find first edition tags, and then there's different pictures that show you what the tags look like. They are a bit different. But if you find the first edition Princess Diana Beanie Bear, you can get up to $12,000 for that one if it's in brand new condition. So keep an eye out for that one for sure. Again, this is something that Global Voodoo is constantly reminding us of is the Lions Pennsylvania train set. This one here is the Trailblazer. This came out in 1934, and this is the original train set. This one sold for $250,000. So if you find these train sets, then you're gonna know that they're from the 30s because they're made out of steel instead of the plastic that you see now, and they'll have a stamp right on the bottom of it, usually on the caboose or right underneath the tires there. They'll say 1934, and then they'll say Lions, I believe, on there as well. So if you find the Lions 1934 train set or part of it, you could be looking at some money. All right, going back to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not only was the cartoon cool, but the 1980s action toys and the comic books are actually worth some good money. If you find any of these turtles from the 80s in very good condition, you will be surprised to know that they can go for at least $600 a piece. And if you have the whole set like these, then you can get up to $5,000. Again, it depends on the collector and the person who's looking to complete their set, if they're willing to pay that much. But these are prices that have been known to sell for this much. So $600 each if they're in brand new condition. If you can get the whole set of the 1980s action figures, you can be looking at close to $5,000. All right, rounding up our list here with number 20 is the vinyl Cape Jawa. This one specifically will get you, apparently, according to this article, close to $5,000. When the version of this Cape Jawa was released in 1978, the cape itself was made out of vinyl before the company turned it over to felt. So if you find this one, it's incredibly rare. Remember, the cape itself is made out of vinyl instead of felt. It can be worth up to $5,000. So keep an eye out for this little guy here. And that's going to round up the 20 vintage toys that you guys can be looking for when you're going out there shopping in your Goodwill or Etsy or garage sales or yard sales. I hope this list was helpful for you guys. Keep an eye out for any vintage toys, especially if you find them brand new in the boxes. They can be worth some pretty good money to a collector. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. If you found any of these vintage toys or something close to it, go ahead and leave a comment below. I would love to hear what you guys are finding out there in the neighborhoods. And until next time, in between time, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.